Well, a second album is released for a couple of weeks now, but I was wondering, the first album you released 2 years ago, it was, I guess. What doors did it open for you back then?
It was a slow progression. It was, the label in Brooklyn was really small, so it was sort of just people found it sort of organically, word of mouth. And that's actually how I ended up with Jag Jaguars. They heard 2 of my songs from that album.
Was it a frustrating period, maybe, back then, with your first album, because it was not a very big release back then?
It was a little. I mean, I think as an artist, you're never like fully satisfied. So right after that came out is when I actually started to think about going to Vermont to write the second one. I just wanted to keep going forward. So I never really got stuck on like disappointing. It was just more about like, I knew there was so much more I had to do, so I just did it.
Because before the first release, what kind of a musician were you? Were you one that played in maybe little bars or little clubs, or how can we see you back then?
Well, I was just figuring out what it sounded like. I had a band before I made the album in 2008, and then I sort of stopped that just to figure out what I really wanted my songs to sound like, and then I put out Necima. Yeah.
How did that process went for you, like deciding what kind of sound you were? Because that's a very abstract thing, of course.
I know. It was just, well, I think there's a difference when you're in a band that is all equal parts maybe together, but I was still leading it, and it sort of started to have like this energy of its own, and I felt like out of control of it, even though I felt like I had so much music to be written. So I just sort of decided to just stop and just focus on the way I wanted the songs to be without anyone else caring, really.
What did you discover about yourself when doing it by yourself?
Just like the process, and I really got into like the importance of the words and the poems and like that sort of aspect of it taking almost as long as the musical. Yeah, and then the second record was just going even deeper into that.
Are you into poetry?
Yeah.
Yourself? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have an example of what you read and what finds its way into music?
Well, I'm always reading a lot of different poets. I've been reading a lot of Robert Haas recently. He's a California, San Francisco poet. Walt Whitman, always. Yeah.
How long can you think about a lyric if you're writing a lyric? Is it a deep process for you, or because is it a difficult process for you, or a long process writing lyrics?
It is a long process. It depends on the song. It's sort of, I write a lot all the time anyway, and so maybe I'll see like a word that's like a catchphrase that could be, I could see that turning into a song. And then I'll go back to the piano, and then back to the words, and then it's just this sort of like strange back and forth. But yeah, I take really a lot of time with the words. Yeah.
Is there a moment that you have to say to yourself, well, this is enough, or is it just a process that is ended externally, like someone else saying, now it's okay like this, or?
Right. It's an internal thing. I mean, it's different when it gets to studio time, because then there's engineers and there's people who know how to make this sound exactly what I want. So I think it's more, the song isn't actually done until it's recorded, mixed, everything, you know, up until then there's just like so many possibilities. But the skeleton of it being done is a pretty big moment, and that's really like intimate and just me, no one else. And then I bring everyone in and we all kind of decide how it's gonna go down.
You writing your first song, how many years do we have to go back into time?
Oh, maybe 7, 6.
Yeah. Can you remember what triggered you into music?
Yes. I was studying theater, and my last semester I was doing experimental theater and experimental voice work. And I went to this summer program in the south of France called the Roy Hart School, and the vocal training was really based on using your voice as an instrument, or like the class I took was called Voice and Emotion. So it's just like literally like playing with it like it's its own instrument. And that sort of like triggered all of these things in me, because I realized I could have a sound that was much more expressive and deep and strange than like a formal classical singing or musical theater or anything like that.
Because I've also read that your mother put you behind the piano, or is that not true?
Oh, oh yeah. When I was little, I played piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but I stopped not long. I never really got that good at piano.
Are there parts of the theater that finds its way back into your music?
Maybe unconsciously. I think I like thinking about the shows as a performance, and that relationship between the audience and the work. Yeah, for sure.